What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pigskin in the Mosh Pit podcast. I just brought everybody in with me at one time. As you can see with us, Mr. Dan Gilles and
What's up,
Mr.
everybody?
Larry Wolf. Oh, I'm going to do the oh. We have no Jeff here tonight to be hauling you in. Jeff had to take the night off. And for what it's worth, this will probably be the last Pigskin in the Mosh Pit podcast. I know I think I said that like 4 or 5 other times, but but I really think I mean it this time. And I think what's going to just basically happen is the name will change and the subject matter will basically change. I think let me just real quickly just say this. I think our intentions were all right. And I think everything we were intending to do was the right thing. We just thought the Browns were going to have a good season and it'd be a lot of fun to do a podcast. We should have known better. And to be honest with you, I mean, like this season really isn't that, I mean, it's nuts, but I mean, like, it's kind of like we're built for this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of like this soap opera that goes along with the Cleveland Browns. It seems like annually. And now this magical thing that happens where he has this magical setback. Let me start off the show by asking both you guys a question. What are the odds that he had a medical setback?
Do you want my honest truth?
Yeah, I mean, like, honest to God, what are the odds? I mean, I'm just being like a real one.
I think it's a matter of convenience.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like it was like, hey, buddy, you want out, we want you out. Let's make this happen. And
the insurance clause is a beautiful thing, and
and you got to think he wants out. I mean, he's going to get his money either way. It doesn't matter. He gets his money either way. And you don't think he wants the fuck out of here as fast as he can get his fucking ass out of here. So I just think that's hilarious how things play out. And it just looks like they're gonna draft a quarterback and probably get a veteran in here, and it's gonna be almost like Watson doesn't even exist. I mean, that's kind of how this is going to play out. I think I don't even understand it, but it does feel that way, and it's almost kind of sickening.
He'll have a locker, and that's about it.
It's kind of
bizarre.
He'll
have a jersey. He'll have a spot on the roster, on the injured reserve, or the physically unable to perform list, or whatever. But he has taken his last snaps to Cleveland Brown. I will put my fucking reputation on it. I think
your microphone, dude. Your microphone's.
Check,
yeah, you're really down right now. Like, can you hear him, Larry?
Yes, but it's low.
Yeah, it's like really.
They can't hear me either.
Huh?
Yeah. Whatever you just did. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I think Watson's taking his last snap as a Brown.
He may have taken his last snap as a football player.
Yeah, I would venture. I would go as far as to say that too.
Who's going to take him on?
He's done.
Yeah, I mean, and like the thing about Watson is, I'm going to ask Larry a question real quick. On a scale of 1 to 10, Larry, how sickening is it that any human being gets away with what that guy got away with just how fortune falls into some people, where just because this guy gets accused of these things, the other team doesn't want him. I mean, when you think about how this all literally plays out, it really starts with the accusations. Actually, it starts with him saying he wants to be traded, right? I mean, actually, it starts with his extension, right? Like, so he gets his extension, then he says he wants to be traded, then the owner becomes infuriated, then all of a sudden these accusations start flying everywhere, then they bench him, then he becomes expendable, the Browns go crazy and then he gets $230 million guaranteed money because of the Baker's Mayfield situation. And there may never have been a worse quarterback in the NFL while he played for the Cleveland Browns, and he still gets all $230 million. And now he's only, I don't even know how many snaps he's played for the Browns, and he's not going to play another one. 2 more years on his contract, and he'll never play another snap for the Browns. How sickening is that, Larry? And how disgusting is that, Larry? I want to hear.
I know Dan disagrees with me. It's the worst fucking trade ever in the modern era. And Dan, you can argue it all you want. At least Herschel Walker played and was somewhat productive for 3 years for Minnesota. And then he went on to be productive for Philadelphia.
There is a point.
It's terrible. And the big kick in the ass is the fact that I know you don't like Baker Mayfield. Who cares who we do or don't like? None of these.
You're right.
You know, nobody's coming. It's like voting for somebody based on I like who they are. Are they coming out? Do you buy your car? Do you go work at a job? Do you interview the CEO of the company you go to work for? Or do you take the best offer that pays you the most money? I have yet to meet anybody who said, I took a job because I went and I interviewed the CEO and I chose between which one. They say, get the fuck out of here. Take the job, but don't get what are you fucking talking about? So
Right.
Everybody has a moral fucking compass about that. Look, the guy fleeced everybody, whether he meant to or not. That's the outcome. It's the worst trade in the modern era. They give up 3 number 1 picks. Baker Mayfield is laughing. I know, Dan, I'm jumping on you, buddy. You said, I've been saving it up. You said something about, well, he was shit with Carolina. So was Sam Darnold. They had Baker Mayfield floating at defensive tackle in drills in that camp. Carolina Panthers were completely inept. They had Darnold and Baker. And guess what? Both Darnold is in the Pro Bowl. Baker should be in the fucking Pro Bowl. They had the answer. It's the Browns and the Jets. They suck. They can't develop quarterbacks. They draft them, and then they can't develop them. They lose patience. They jettison them. Geno Smith. They go other places, and they're successful. It's not that they suddenly got good. It's that they invested in the guys. Instead, the way 3 number 1 picks here. They mortgaged their whole future.
There's no doubt that trade turned out to be an absolute shit trade.
The worst.
There's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt that it's an absolute shit trade.
The evidence is there.
Yeah, I mean, like in the end, it's like it's like everything in all these sports. It's just like a GM, right? Do you ever know how good a GM is until 5 years down the road? Like you can't really assess how anything goes. But where I disagree with a lot of people is 2 things. You want to talk about Baker Mayfield, that's fine. But Baker Mayfield had his ups and he had his downs here. And I think a lot of people at that point were sick of his bullshit. It wasn't about what a player he was at the time. It was that he was a little fucking bitch at the time. He grew up a lot, and I think a lot of people say that, and it's become cliche to say about Baker, and whatever. But the truth of the matter is I've seen him on some interviews, and he doesn't look the same. He acts like a different person now. He's grown up a lot. He's learned a lot about through the process. I don't think he's the same Baker necessarily if he stays on the Browns. I think that if he stays on the Browns, he's probably a cocky little prick still because he can be. Because here, he kind of ran things here. They don't let him run things at these other places. He's just fucking a quarterback. It's a totally different system for him, too, over there when you got real players around you. Also, I mean, there's a lot going on. He's not going to succeed on this team. This team right now, Baker ain't going to – nobody succeeds on this team right now. Nobody succeeds.
Well, BigBri. Well, then you said then what's the point of drafting quarterbacks? You're right. This is like getting if you get drafted by the Raiders, the Jets, or the Browns as a quarterback. That's like getting whatever sent to Siberia for the winter. I mean, they don't. What you're talking about. So you're saying the guy wasn't the guy he was at 26 or whatever it is he was when he was 21. Well, no shit. Were any of us the same guy at 26 or 27 that we were at 21? That's called getting some wisdom and getting some, you invest in a guy. Trevor Lawrence is struggling. Should they jettison him and throw him out the window?
Well, no, I got to say
probably
that
will.
Huh?
I'm yelling because I can't hear my. I'm only yelling because I can't hear my mic.
No, dude, you're the best when you yell. Please don't stop yelling.
I can't hear.
Please don't stop.
I can hear you guys, and I can't hear me, but I can hear you guys.
The best. I mean, we just sit here in awe of you. We're just like, this is the greatest show ever. I'm watching. So no, you're right. I get that. But the problem is also, dude, is that this is the NFL where a lot of these guys come into the league as problems and they leave the league as problems. It's not as if most of these guys' problems and these people are solved. A lot of times they're not solved and they become a headache. And let's just be honest. The biggest problem in Cleveland will always be the fact that there's an impatience in this city that doesn't exist anywhere else in pro sports. And it's like it's become it's changed everybody here. Like it's made the fan base different. It's made all of us different. It's made the whole idea of playing on the Browns now different. These players don't feel the same being a Brown as they do the other 31. Well, maybe the Jets too, 30 teams. So but you know what I'm saying? It's as if now there's this like stigma now that is so it is so like almost now not just like a thing that's like invisible. It's like real, and it's got its claws in there. Because let's just be honest, dude, I have no clue who to blame anything on anymore. Because and I've said this a million times, it doesn't seem like it ever matters. The combination of coach, quarterback, owner, GM. I mean, it seems like the result rolls out the same. They said something on 92 today, and simple little stupid fact. But you're like that's so. Teams that are run well don't have a 3 in anything record. Okay, like that is a from the top problem. And again, I'll bring this up, and I know this is sacrilegious, but I don't give a fuck. The Pittsburgh Steelers never have a 3-game winning fucking season. Never. Do you understand? Like when I say never, they don't do it. It doesn't happen. So
right.
And we can sit here all we want and nitpick that. Well, they only get one time in the playoffs. Haha. They're always in the fucking playoffs. They're in there every year. Every year they got a chance to win the fucking Super Bowl. Fucking year, right now, a chance.
Yep.
So
they can go end the year on a 4-game losing streak, though.
I'm not okay. But my point is still a 10 times better season than the Browns just had, and was expected to come in and look like dog shit. They fucking took 2 guys that nobody else they picked them up off the goddamn fucking tree lawn and turned Russell Wilson into a good quarterback again. How the fuck did that happen? I mean, he wasn't spectacular or anything, but they were winning games with this dude. We can't win anything, dude. Like it is the most insane thing to watch the Browns now. It's almost like I don't even understand what I'm watching. It's the same game I watched 15 years ago. It's like, how is that possible? It's penalties, that whole penalty thing. Are you guys not sick and fucking tired of every positive play that the Browns have? There's a flag every fucking time. It's every time. You're just like, there it is. It's like nothing's different. It's spectacular. It really is. It's almost like spectacular because it's so unbelievable.
That's the NFL for you.
Everybody's hero Miles averages about a 1 offsides for every 1 sack he gets in a game.
Yeah, and he's not, everybody's Miles. Dude, look, man, I think it's an all-encompassing problem with this team. And
overrated.
He is leading the NFL in sacks this year. I will say that.
No, he's not. He's not.
Hatrix.
No, he's not. Dan, you're high. You're smoking. Dan, you're high. Hendrickson, you're not watching. See, this is where you're a homer. Hendrickson had 3.5 sacks the other night against Pittsburgh. He's at 17.5 again for the 2nd year in a row. He's leading the league.
He's good.
He had a monster game. No, he had a monster game. Well, you should look at the thing. He's ended the year. Myles Garrett has never led the league in sacks, ever.
They went into the last game tied, and he didn't.
Because he had 3 meaningless ones because he went to sleep. And then he had 3 meaningless ones in the shit game in the snowstorm last month. And then you know what he said? I'm the man. You know what? Trey Hendrickson has beaten him in sacks 3 out of the last 5 seasons. Is anybody yelling about Trey Hendrickson going to the Hall of Fame? You know what else Trey Hendrickson's done? Myles Garrett's never had more than 16 in his career. Trey Hendrickson just put together back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. And the other night, his game, 5 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 3.5 sacks, and 1 pass defended. You tell me the game that Myles Garrett's had that in a meaningful game ever. That was a playoff game for the Bengals the other night.
And they still didn't get in.
No, but that through no fault of that guy. He left it on the fucking field.
Why? What happened? Someone won that had to lose. Is that what happened?
They needed. Oh no! You see, that's what makes me crazy. They needed the Chiefs to.
Oh, that's right.
They needed the Jets. They needed the Jets to beat Miami. Okay, but they needed the Chiefs to lose to Denver, and of course, the Chiefs. This is what was sucked about this. They played. I don't even know who the hell they played on that team the other day, and they got blown out. And so they did that to keep Joe Burrows, who's the hottest fucking player in the league. They got the best receiver, Triple Crown receiver, led in yards, touchdowns, and receptions.
And he is great.
And they got the sack leader, the NFL passing leader, and the NFL Triple Crown wide receiver. And that truly is a bad defense where Trey Hendrickson is the only guy on that defense. He gets the double. Hey, Miles gets triple. Miles gets doubled. Fuck that. Every fucking good player, every good edge player gets doubled.
He's right. You're right,
we had the PFF last year. The Browns. We had the number one defense. Well, what did he? Oh, but 12 guys were black. They had 11 guys on one on Miles. Plus 3 coaches came in from the outside. He had 15-1 on him. And he had the most rushes.
The greatest moment in pimp history. Oh, my God. And I have to, and I gotta say, you're making sense.
You know why? It's because I'm wearing a shirt.
I know Joe is flowing through you. Joe is a part of you right now.
60 years ago, Joe Willie Namath changed football by signing the $427,000 contract when starting quarterbacks like Bart Starr were making $25 a season.
So let me ask you this, Larry.
He changed it.
Right now, someone calls Andrew Berry up and says, "We'll give you 3 firsts for him." And do you make the trade right now?
I've said it for the last 2 months. Trade the guy while he's young and he's got value. They're not getting 3 number ones. They're not getting 3. No, nobody's going to do that.
5, 2 number ones. I think they're going to get 2 number ones for a guy.
They'll get at least 2 number ones.
Okay, let me ask you a question. At least, okay. Well, now I understand why you guys thought the Deshaun thing was a good deal. Let's give all our number ones. Let's give all our number ones. You know who used to do this? George Allen, the Over the Hill gang. 55 years ago, he wanted all old players. He traded all his draft choices away for old guys.
Do you think so? You don't think anybody in the league thinks that Myles Garrett is a premier pass rusher in this league?
Oh no, dude, yes he is. He's very good.
I'm saying top, one of the best. But my point is these teams will definitely give up 2 firsts to get a guaranteed pass rusher when they're spending firsts like crazy trying to get just a chance at one. So I think
I see
Garrett
what you're saying.
In this league, I think Garrett in this league, especially presently in this league, is worth at least 2 picks because that's what this league is. That's what they spend their first rounders on is edge rushers. I can't talk right now. Go ahead, talk for him. So, someone else talk for a minute.
I talked enough.
They'll definitely
I know. Poor Dan.
At
Dan's
least
like
first, if not 2, for Garrett. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
think 2. I think he's worth 2. I think he's worth 2 picks from another team.
I think they get a number 1 and a conditional 2 or condition that could move up or something like that. I don't think
here's the problem.
There's guys like there's guys like Hassan Reddick. Yeah, do you guys know who Hassan Reddick is?
Yes.
Okay, what do you know about him?
That he had a couple good seasons.
Yep, he had more sacks 2 years ago than Myles Garrett had. And you know what he did this year? Jack shit. Because they realize with some of these guys, it's situational. It's who they're around.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I mean, if you're around great players, it helps you.
If Myles came from what was the worst defense in the league last year, according to PFF, then I'd say, okay, shit. Yeah, the guy was on a fucking terrible team, terrible defense. He wasn't on a terrible defense. We sat here last year saying how great the Browns defense was. You can't have it both ways. Either he played on a very good defense last year, and he was the best player on it, arguably, or he gets doubled and tripled and 12 teams or whatever. 100 guys are blocking him on every play. It's one or the other. You can't have it both ways.
Listen, I won't deny a lot of things that you're saying. Especially
he's a good player. He's a very good player.
He does disappear for parts of a season, and he does it for almost every season where he just vanishes for games, like no sacks, whatever. And it's always because he was double or triple teamed. And let's be honest, okay? When we played Pittsburgh, okay, just this last time we played Pittsburgh, we stuffed. Not the last time, when we beat them. We stuffed the fuck out of Watt that game. If you remember that game, I mean, he couldn't do shit. They had a game plan for him that worked that day, and everything worked that day for TJ Watt. That plan, it all came together that day. You couldn't run that plan on him the next week. It would have it work. He would not allow that. But that's how the NFL works. And so when they talk about, well, he was double teamed, to your point, I agree. I think he's double teamed every single play on every single game, just about all those guys, Watt and him and all of them. I think they're all double teamed. They're at least chipped. Yeah. Okay. Like there's at least a chip.
They have help.
Yes, there's some kind of help involved. So sometimes that works. Sometimes that don't. Sometimes the personnel isn't good enough to stop those guys. So it doesn't matter if you're chipping and blocking and whatever the fuck you're doing. That dude's just mauling them over. I've seen Watt just go right around dudes like nothing, like they weren't even there. I've seen Garrett do it too. But some guys, they
sure.
So you know what, man? The bottom line is that I think Garrett's a top 3, top 4 pass rusher in the league. I think on some days he's outstanding. I think some days Watt is. I think there's a lot of variables that go into all that stuff. Here's my question though. If you don't think that the Browns can straighten anything out, then keeping a guy like Myles Garrett does not make sense. Like if in other words, if you think that like this regime, because I guess, do you agree with this? If this regime can't figure out in a year how to fix this, it looks like they're going to blow this thing up. Do you have any faith?
They're out of jobs.
Well, do you have any faith
that? Out of jobs.
But do you have any faith that they can do that?
I got faith in Stefanski. I don't have faith in Barry. I don't like Barry's draft record. I think he drafts terrible. He hasn't had a good. He's only had 4 starters in 5 years of drafting. 2 Pro Bowlers. Jed Wills is awful. He's gone. Grant Delpit took forever to figure it out. He's finally playing well. JOK is injured and might not come back. He was probably the best pick you had. And I can go through the list. I mean, Mike Hall this year was your top pick, and he was barely on the field. He played okay, and then he got hurt. Zach Sinter was awful. When he played, he didn't do very good. So I don't like him making this pick. I really don't. And I'm afraid he's going to take someone like Cam Ward, who just quit on his team at halftime in a bowl game, and going to say, yeah, we want that guy. And you totally didn't learn your lesson from Baker when he was immature, from Watson, who you paid a shit ton of money for nothing. It's like, yeah, let's bring in another asshole quarterback who may or may not fit your system, but has put himself above his team already. I'm afraid of that. I'm dreading it. I hope it doesn't happen. I really don't want him to take a quarterback. I really don't. I want him to. I would rather than trade for fucking JJ McCarthy.
But don't you think that? So yep. So you're definitely not thinking Sanders is the option either that you want either. Doesn't Sanders just spell bust? I mean, doesn't he just reeks of a bust quarterback in the NFL?
Drama and bust. Yeah, drama mostly.
And the other part of that whole equation is his father, which I would be willing to bet a lot of money that if the Browns were to try to draft him, he would try to block all that, and then it'd be a big thing about how Dion doesn't want his son playing for the Browns and da. Because let's be honest, as I said, there's now a stigma about just coming to this team. I mean, I can almost understand it. Like I can almost understand being good enough to be in the NFL and you're this, this great talent, this such a rare thing to have this talent, and you get drafted by the fucking Browns, and it's like it just would be like fuck. I mean, it's bad enough our weather sucks. Yeah, it happened, and the same thing happened with
it. Already happened. And Archie Manning, Archie Manning, was they always shit on him. He was on a terrible team. Okay, he wasn't great either. He was a guy that played hard and gave his all, but he was not ultra talented. His legacy is he's like Banquo in Macbeth. He'll never be king, but he'll be the father of kings.
Yeah,
that Shakespearean reference there.
Yeah, you've definitely calmed down everything right there. It's
maybe the grandfather of greatness, but it is. You're right, because Deion Sanders won't keep his mouth down. He's going to be dictating just like Manning did years ago when his son was coming in. Yeah, he's not going to run the play here.
I mean, look how well Caleb Williams has panned out with the Bears, and he was one of those divas coming in, squawking about money and squawking about, you know, I'll play where I want. I may not sign with the Bears, and then he shows up, and you're not going to punt very much, punter. And what happens? They lead the league in punting. So it's like, you know,
dude. I mean, isn't it amazing how the NFL will? I don't care how great you are. It literally does humble you in a very fast way. And it seems like if you do run your mouth, it does get around, and they make sure that, you know, like, the league just has its way. It's there's rules and laws and just things that just exist. That, I mean, I just think it's an awesome thing. I just think I really believe in the NFL. A lot of people watch it and they don't really realize the intensity of what they're watching, because everybody on the field is such an elevated athlete that it kind of mitigates it while you're watching it. You know what I'm saying? You don't really get to see just how explosive, because they're all explosive. So it kind of like, you don't see it, but it's like the power of these dudes and the strength and the muscle. When you think about what's happening on the offensive defensive line, every fucking play, how my body would have been torn into shreds just on one blocking play if I got caught between two of them motherfucking guys. That's how I think about it. Or like, if I came down with the football and Ray Lewis was coming at me full speed, like, what would happen to me after that? Like, how many days in the hospital do I spend?
Ray would have waited for Suggs or somebody else to make the tackle. Then he would have jumped on the pile, celebrated like he made the play. That fucker jumped on more piles than anybody in history.
He was good at that. He was very good at that.
Always celebrating.
He was not a good one-on-one tackler.
No, he jumped on the piles.
Was he there to clean up?
4 million assists. Yeah. You know, there's just certain guys that just get ordained. He was an ordained, and you know, I know I pick on Myles Garrett. Look, guys, I love Myles Garrett's toolbox. His ability. He's one of the top. It just. He's been canonized for sainthood in Cleveland, and Peter King at PFF is totally gay for him, and he's just fallen in love, and that's what helped him get Defensive Player of the Year last year. He's an exceptional player, but I would we all dislike. I just want to get back, because I know I pick on him. It's just I get tired. The Browns fans, they're like, I see all these things now. The most sacks ever in 4 seasons. Have you guys seen that thing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess what? This is the 4th year of 17-game seasons. You fucking idiots!
Oh no!
And you know what it is? He's averaged. He's first player this year, averaged 14 or more in 4 seasons. Well, guess what? T.J. Watt has 65 over the last 4 seasons. It's just been erratic.
The NFL,
you know what?
Doing that.
Reggie White, Al Baker, I don't care for Al Baker, his rookie year, 78, 79, 80, 81. He had 65 sacks. Check my math. Reggie White had 70 in his first 4 years. And you know who had the best average per sack per game? Gastineau had 67 across 57 games because of the 82 strike year. He actually had the highest average of anybody. He averaged 1.2 per game. Myles isn't averaging 1 a game, yet he's already been canonized for sainthoods, and he's already got his bust in Canton ready to go. There are certain guys. I mean, the league didn't like Conrad Dobler, Gastineau, and Dexter Manley. So those guys are like their 3 guys they virtue signal. Oh, we don't like those guys. They're dirty players or whatever. You know, I remember Joe Green.
You can throw Lyle too.
Who's that?
Lyle Alzado. You can throw him into that pile too.
Well, he was good. Yeah. The problem with the Lyle Alzado was he had a big mouth, but he didn't always back up completely.
He took steroids.
Well, they all
Dan, who didn't?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, it used to be in the 60s and early 70s, you had heavy guys with pear-shaped bodies on the offensive line. Suddenly, the 70s Steelers come along, and you got, what's his name, Mike Webster, with his, his things up to here with biceps out of everywhere. He got that from vitamins?
Working out. He worked out really hard. That's Mike.
Yeah.
Mom's cooking.
He had He drank whole milk instead of skim milk. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
If we're going to get into peds, I mean, that's how many of these guys look like they just left, they dropped 60 pounds. And, oh, well, that was my playing weight. Okay. You see these old school guys. Bob Lilly didn't turn into a skeleton 5 seconds after he left the NFL.
I've often said that I always had a hard time believing that PEDs were like publicly they have to frown on them. Publicly, they have to have their stool pigeons that they've run out there to show that we're out there being vigilant and all that kind of stuff. But at the same token, it's a much more fun league if everybody's jacked up and and there's bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, look at baseball. I mean, was there ever? I mean, listen. That was the most fun baseball ever was when they were jacking home runs and McGuire was hitting the Budweiser sign in Cleveland and fucking everybody. I mean, it was a blast. So like you tell me, especially everything you know about big business and everything, tell me why then would they be so adamant about keeping PEDs out of their leagues? They wouldn't. Thank you.
It's all about trying to set the example for the kids, so they don't want kids doing steroids.
It's all about the illusion of that, I think. The illusion of that is what it's about.
Meanwhile, arguably the best defensive player of all time, LT, is a registered sex offender, but it's all about the kids. Ray Lewis, who you mentioned earlier, was
murderer.
Was at the very least he was implicated. That's it's not the league of altar boys, but they have their certain guys they want to make examples out of. And I mean, if you guys ever follow track and field, every year there are a number of track and field athletes who get bounced for PEDs. Every fucking year. They go back retroactively and remove medals. When was the last time you heard anybody in the NFL?
Ever, never.
They don't.
I remember
when Brian Cushing won the Defensive Player of the Year, and he got popped for steroids, and there was talk about removing the award from him, and the NFL decided that they weren't going to do it, and so he kept being Player of the Year. But once he stopped taking steroids, his career died immediately. But
most of them that happens too. Mostly that's what happens, man. I mean. I'll go back to baseball. I mean, oh my God, dude! Once they cracked the steroid thing and everybody got off the steroids for a little while there, it was wild how people just changed their appearance changed and everything. Everything about everybody. Remember Ivan Rodriguez, the catcher for Texas? Was that his name? Ivan Rodriguez.
Pudge Rodriguez. Yep.
But yeah. I mean, dude, that he transformed. It was actually weird looking. I mean, it was.
I'll bring up a Cleveland Indian for you, Travis Hafner.
Yeah,
he was all jacked up, looked like the Michelin Man, right? All of a sudden, they started testing for steroids, and man, did he get skinny, and his power went away, and he started getting hurt, and his career went right down the toilet. He never tested for it, but I mean, two eyes.
Yeah, that was all. Like damage control at that point, testing all them people and all that stuff, because at that point the secret was out of the bag, and now you can't trust anybody. So now we got to test everybody and make sure that it looks all legit. And eventually, I mean, I'm seeing jacked guys again, and I'm seeing it all again. But they've now figured it out how to do it differently this time. And I always believed that sports and any way to make the game more exciting will always win, no matter what.
There's a lab out there right now trying to perfect an undetectable,
without a doubt,
steroid, like they did in the 90s.
The billionaires want their, the billionaires, if they can give them drugs to make them better and more exciting than
Balco, whatever it was.
Balco, yep.
By all means,
they're modern day gladiators. They're modern day warriors, just like in the Roman times. That's all it is.
You know what's funny is, really, I remember seeing as a great, and what I wanted to say just to wrap up on Myles Garrett, I think Myles Garrett's a great player. No, I just got to say, because I know I cooked on him before.
No, but
I think he's a great player. Would I, we all feel bad that we saw Joe Thomas, was a terrific talent, loyal, spent his career on a Cleveland team. And it's a shame for that guy that, I mean, he's had a great life. It's not a shame, but I mean, professionally, it would have been nice to see him play on a better team. Like, it's been fun to see Matt Stafford. He grinded away in Detroit. It's great to see the Lions have success, but it was good for Stafford to move on too. It was a win-win for both of them. It would be nice to see Myles Garrett. I get it. He's a great talent. Let him go somewhere and finish out, last 5 years or whatever he's got that he chooses to play when he's still, very good, and get some return and start to recoup some of the overspend on the other guy, because you got to get some picks back. So I would do that, and it would be beneficial to him, and let him go, because it's a shame he's only played in 2 playoff games. Let him go to a good team that he can help, and let the Browns recoup some of this stuff. The thing with Peds, I will tell you, at some point, they're all big boys. I remember seeing there's a great documentary on Balco and the stuff, and it's Ronnie Coleman, and he talks about, I think it was Ronnie Coleman, the bodybuilder guy.
Mark Coleman?
He talks. No,
Okay.
not the killing, not the hammer, not Mark, okay. not from no Ronnie Coleman, the guy who was in the Mr. Universe and all that.
Okay.
There was that whole era, like with Dorian Yates, and Ronnie Coleman was one of the big ones that was winning Mr. Olympia 25 years ago, whatever. Now I think he's in a wheelchair, but he talks about, he says, all these guys who take the stuff, whatever sport they're in, it's not that it takes a normal human being and takes them into the stratosphere. All it does is, he says, I couldn't beat the top 2 guys. He said, I could finish 3rd all day long. He said, it just was that, because you still have to have the natural talent. Yes. It's just that when you get up there, it might be the differentiator of this much that gets them to that next level. But when they're talking about millions of there's a great set. There's a guy from LSU, this offensive lineman. He said, he was talking about playing other teams, and he said, look, if you're a defensive lineman and in college football, and when you're a Power 5, Power 10 school, and you get 12 sacks a year, you're a number 1 draft choice. You're a first rounder. He said, if you're on my side of the ball and we give up 12 sacks a year, I'm getting a job for Amazon. So when you see that disparity of what that can mean, is there any wonder?
No, you're right. I mean, that is exactly what happened. And everything you're saying is,
it's not going to make somebody who stinks into something fabulous, but it's the little edge. And so to me, it's like the 80s wrestling. Let them all do it. I don't give a shit at this point. Let them all do it.
A wise man once said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, yeah, but it's only cheating if it's illegal. Or if you say, hey, everybody's allowed to use them, then they're not cheating anymore. But
right.
I agree with you. And they've said it, even, I mean, not to go back to baseball, but in that game, it was never more evident, because the big thing that they talked about after all that went down was those guys still have elite hand-eye coordination. It helps that zero. Right. It doesn't give them any more hand-eye coordination. The only thing it did with hitting in baseball was increase bat speed, and it was only by a slightly amount, and it would get you an extra 15 foot on a fly ball, an extra 17 foot on a fly ball. Well, if you're hitting the warning track, that's a home run. So it made a big difference. I mean, it was making a big difference, because you're only talking about 10 to 20 extra home runs makes a big difference, and that's all you're talking. Sure. So it was, you're right. It wasn't like it turned David into Goliath, but it definitely, in a league where this is what I was getting back to, though, when I was talking about, you don't realize when you're watching these pro sports how unbelievable these guys are, because the difference of each guy is just a little bit. I mean, they're not the sucky team in football is really not that less talented than the best team. It's just a matter of inches here and inches there, all the way down the line, except for the Browns. For some reason, it's feet and not inches. I never could figure it out, but there is definitely something to be said about that. It's true that these guys are not. It's an amazing group of people when you're watching pro sports. It really is. It
is. They're in, they're rare, and it's, well, I was going to, since you mentioned it with the Browns again, to circle back to them, I know that we had speculated on possibly Vrabel, but it sounds like Stefanski's staying, and I'm sure you guys saw by now, Vrabel played the Jets just so he can position himself for the New England job.
Patriots, yeah.
That
Just like
Mayo,
Belichick did.
That's like the second time that's happened to both to the Jets. I mean, dude, you can't even make this shit up. It's so fucked up. Dude.
Poor Mayo got tossed out. Boom, 1 year he's out. Up in New England. Vrabel's heading up there.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever, dude. I mean, that's football. That's Kraft and football and Vrabel and all these fucking assholes. That's what they are. Because we'll never sniff any of that shit while I'm alive. This team is just it's just I'm so sick of football, and football itself is just wearing thin on me. I tell you what, dude, I'm starting to love the basketball more and more and more and more and more. So I invite you guys to join me into the NBA. And
I hate the NBA. I love the Cavs, but the NBA makes the NFL look like it's not corrupt.
Oh, it is. It's another. It is, but at least your team wins.
It's the WWE.
You know, and I'll tell you what, watch that game Wednesday. If you're gonna watch a game tomorrow, I mean that's gonna be that's like the championship right there. If there ever is one during the regular season, it'll be like
ESPN hates the fact that Oklahoma City and Cleveland are the two best teams in the league.
I love that they hate that. I love that. I love shit like this. See, I love when the league itself, no matter which league you're talking about, is mad about something, anything. I really don't care even what it is. It's like anything that upsets the leagues always makes me happy, because I just think that the leagues in a general, all three, suck. I mean, they just suck, and they're making ticket prices more and more on, it's all corporate shit now, and it's just I saw what the Haslams are proposing for ticket prices for that stadium, and if any of that's even remotely true, then why does anyone even care what they're building? I mean, you're not going to fucking unless you're fucking, one of the elite, you're not going. It's a corporate thing, it's going to be all corporate type like suites and just fuck all that shit, man. That whatever. I mean, that's what it all is becoming. I mean, more and more, that's what it all is anyway. So. You guys want to do?
Well, that's what it was in '99 when they came back. The first couple years.
They should never come back. I would be so much more relaxed as a human being, and I would be so many more happier Sundays.
In fairness, though, guys, there is some great football going. I mean, I watched the Bengals game the other night because that was meaningful. Joe Burrow's
he's great.
He's playing at a different fucking level. I mean, he just was. And it's a shame he's not in. I watched a little bit of the Lions and the Vikings. I mean, it's funny. I saw something in the perfect scenario would be the Bills and the Vikings, or the Bills and the Lions, because somebody's going to win who's never won before.
Yeah,
especially the Bills and the Vikings, because they've been winless in Super Bowls.
Yeah,
and someone's really gonna have PTSD Super Bowl if they lose again, and someone's going to break their curse, which is an interesting.
Those are all good.
There is a lot of good football. Yeah, there's a lot of good football going on. It really is.
There is. There is. I mean, I know it just sucks when it's just such a habitual slap in your face. It's just gotten to a point where, it's like it's not supposed to be that way. I keep saying it. It's just not. It's never built this way for anything and anybody. And just what the fuck. But I will say this. To put us out of our misery. This will be the last podcast where we talk about this. We're gonna start up a new podcast. I don't know what we'll call it yet. We're gonna fucking call it something cool, and we're just gonna talk music. No more Brown stuff. And I would like to talk about everything. Talk about any gigs we got. Pretty much all you guys. We're gonna bring guests on. Jeff wants to do this also. I talked to Don Foose already about this also. He'd be interested in joining in on this. So we'd probably do it. We won't do this on Tuesdays. I think Tuesdays now become kind of an off day, so we have to coordinate that. So, but we'll have to coordinate some things. But I think us guys, with not so much me, but you guys doing a podcast about music is a much better podcast anyways. So I mean, no offense about, but I mean, like, seriously, I mean, I want to watch that podcast more than the Browns one.
By the way, Larry, I apologize if I pissed in your Cheerios this morning.
I didn't even bring up you jumping on Gastineau after the show and posted about he needed some wine or cheese to go with his wine. Poor guy with dementia, and you're jumping on him. Come on.
He did whine through that whole thing.
Dan, what's he supposed to do?
That whole thing.
What, when he goes up to what's his face, the quarterback? I can't even think of who.
Favre.
Oh yeah, for Brett Favre. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh no, that's just that. But like every time they interviewed him, he like had an excuse about something, or he was complaining about how everybody hated him, and it was.
They did. They hated him. They treated him like shit. His teammates spit on him.
He kind of brought it upon himself, though.
Well,
that's irrelevant. The guy's got dementia, and he got cheated. Look again. It's not the Hall of Good Guys.
Wow.
The guy got cheated out of something, and he lost revenue. He held the record for 17 years, and they kept him out of the Hall of Fame because they hate him. Okay, and how convenient? Could you imagine? I remember years ago, there was a lady on TV on a soap opera show, and they used to say every year she's not winning whatever the soap opera thing was. It was like when, yes, and every year the only story was, well, she got shunned again. It was the same way with Randy Savage with the WWF Hall of Fame. Nobody cared who went in because they kept avoiding Savage. And every year it was like, okay, they announced him, no Savage. They know why. There's a problem there. That overruled anybody that was inducted. Okay. They had to, if they had somebody with a record standing 37 years in the NFL, it would have become the same thing. But they figured out a way 24 years ago to take it away from him. It's cost him a ton of money. Deacon Jones is in the Hall of Fame, and he still spent the last 20 years of his life walking around saying, I'm the best. I'm the sack guy. That's what he did. I mean, the guy has nothing else in his life. He didn't live a charmed life like Howie Long. It's not for us to, I hear all these apologists for Deshaun Watson. Okay, okay, fine. Why not an apologist for a guy who had a miserable life and always got dementia? But he's right. They did take that from him. He should be pissed.
But the problem is, I get it. You're right on the thing. He should be pissed because he only sees it from that. But I don't think when any of that went down, anybody thought about any of this as if like they were fucking Gastineau. That thought wasn't really in.
Brett Favre did, and Strahan did, and even on the broadcast, Troy Aikman says that didn't look right. His own teammate, Torshire, the right tackle who was blocking Strahan, was pissed about it.
I don't know.
Nobody likes this. I saw JJ Watt talking about it. He said, it's one thing when your teammates say, hey, dude, look, don't worry about the run. We got it. You got a chance to be sacked later or go for the record. He said, it's one thing when your own teammates are helping you. He said, but nobody, this is JJ Watt. He said, nobody in sports wants to see an opponent help break a record.
Yeah,
he said that loses all respect for the game.
That part of it.
Those were his words, and I agree with him. Yeah. But there is this guy's walking around with I threw this. Anyway, nobody cares.
You make a good point.
I'm battling for the underdog here.
And that part of it, though, that you're right. I mean, I do see your point there. I'm talking more about the part where they didn't set out to fuck Gastineau. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to give you that sack because I don't like Mark Gastineau. I want his record broke. They were giving Strahan the record.
Did Evan Strahan his flowers?
Yeah, this was more about Strahan than Gastineau.
Yes, but yes, I agree. Yes, I mean, Brett Favre didn't call the play to fuck Gastineau.
Right.
He did it to help his buddy. But nonetheless, the league was thrilled to death that they took that off of him.
Absolutely.
They were thrilled about that.
I agree. For a lot of reasons. And a lot of them have to do with Strahan too. There's a lot of reasons why they wanted Strahan in that position, and a lot of them have to do with him. Because I mean, even at that time, he was already like one of the darlings of the NFL. Needless to say, what he turned into later.
Good player. Good player, but
Well, I'm just talking about his whole personality and his whole you know, the whole thing with him.
I love Mark Gastineau. He gave the Browns a playoff win.
That's, you know what, Dan, that's another fallacy. I mean, it's another fallacy. It is. And you know, the bad thing about that. I know. But you know what? Funny. Well, no, just if you go back and watch that game, okay? The play before that game, and it wasn't on 3rd and something, it was 2nd and something, 20, whatever. 24. Yes, but everybody remembers it as 3rd, and that changed and that was the game. Okay. On that, the play before that, Gastineau's held his face mask, but offsetting penalties because some asshole on the Jets held downfield. If the guy in the Jets had not, Gastineau drew a penalty. Okay, so now you're at 2nd or whatever. It would have been 3rd and 23 or whatever it was. If you go back and watch the play, there's a guy number 28 on the Jets, Carl Howard. He hits coast. First of all, the call is marginal by 86, 87 standards. The late hit. I don't give a shit what anybody. You go back by today's thing. You know, they see Patrick Mahomes get touched and they think, clearly it's not by today's thing. It's almost 40 years ago. By those standards, that was a marginal call. But that being said, Carl Howard hit Kosar a nanosecond after Gastineau and hit him high in the head. If anybody was going to get the call, it should have been Carl Howard. Okay, so that gives them a first down. They give up 2 more plays to Reggie Langhorne, first downs. Darrell Ray, who went on to play for the New Jersey Generals after he left, he gave up 2 consecutive first downs. Nobody cares that Darrell Ray did that. They get the tying touchdown. Okay, so it's now 3-point game, right? The Jets get the ball back. There's now 2 minutes to go. They punt. They stick the Browns at their 6. Unfortunately, Marion Barber on the guy on the Jets, gets called for holding. They re-kick. Now it's at the 32. That's a 26-yard penalty. The Jets are still up by 3 at this point. Nobody talks about that. On the next play, Carl Howard, 28, who's the guy who actually did hit Kosar. If you're going to call it on somebody, he has a 26-yard pass interference call with Brian Brennan. That put them into field goal range.
Well,
nobody, not even Jet fans acknowledge that. It's always Gastineau did it. No, Carl Howard from the Jets had 2 of these plays.
Implosions are a team effort.
Well, I'd say
that was a pure implosion.
It was a domino effect.
It was whatever it was. You know what it was? The hatred for the guy was so great that nobody cared anybody else on that team had a penalty, but we got Gastineau. Gastineau. He had a penalty. We got him.
You're right.
He gave because of course he gave up 498 passing yards to Kosar by himself.
He was all him, dude. He did it.
I'm just saying.
Get there and sack every time.
I see Jet fans in there fucking. He cost it. No, it was Carl Howard. If anybody, they were still up by 3 points. They gave up again. They had the Browns pinned at their 6 on the punt because of the penalty on Barber. They have to repunt. They get it to 32. That's a more significant penalty, and that's on the final drive. And then Carl Howard gives up the long pass interference for 26 yards. Those are forgotten in time.
But here's what nobody knows about. After that happened, it was written in the book of sports gods that we were to lose our sports franchise, and then we were to have the team come back and have that same scenario played against us 67 times in the last 24 years.
Yeah.
Where a team's come back on us like that Jets game. I don't even know how many times it's happened to us now since that game. Where it's
the Jets did it to us a couple years ago.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right, exactly.
Fucking Flacco. Did it.
Yes.
But you know what though, Dan? The Browns have won the only 2 games that mattered in the last against Jets versus Browns. The first Monday night game and a double playoff game. Every other game, the Jets will probably beat them, but the 2 ones that are for maximum embarrassment and humiliation to the Jets. The Jets will guarantee. I would bet my house on the Browns beating the Jets if there's anything at stake. Usually there's nothing at stake when they both play.
You're right. They both suck. So it's kind of hard to get up for that part of it. What you got?
Did you guys know that tomorrow would be the 90th, would have been the 90th birthday of the King, Elvis Presley?
King himself.
As my
90.
Elvis on tour shirt. That would have been 90
he should
years.
be older, but 90's it, huh? Man.
Would have been 90 tomorrow.
I got some show and tell for you too, Larry.
What the fuck?
Ah,
I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah.
I see it.
My nephew works for the Browns, and he's
Oh, cool.
they were giving them out on the Hall of Fame weekend. And Zach
That's very
Bryan
cool.
played the national anthem, and I was like, if you could snag one for me, I want one, and he gave it to me for Christmas. So
That's very cool. Congratulations. That's very nice.
Hell yeah. It's
You know,
cool, man.
Yeah, now you brought, that's a cool thing, Dan. You know, now you bring that up. You said about shredding. There's some little kid that they have at the Browns games,
Max Steklich.
and I follow the kid on Instagram because I see him shredding away. It's pretty cool. He
He's
can
great.
play.
Yeah, his dad, Brian. Yeah, I tried getting him on the show. So I
like that. I think that's really cool.
We tried getting him on the podcast, and we talked to Brian, his dad, and actually my girlfriend Erica went to school with the dad. And
Nice.
yeah, so I don't know if they were like friends. They knew of each, So I tried getting him on, but it didn't happen. Let's just say that it didn't happen for some other reasons I really don't understand. But so I wanted that kid on bad, man, because you're right. Like that kind of stuff I want to see live. I want to see him in the room with me, like that's the way to appreciate that. I really appreciate him because he's obviously
shredding away.
An unbelievable prodigy. I mean,
he was shredding away. It's cool. He's going to be around for years. It'll be cool to say you had him on when he was a little kid.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I really like that. I think it's really cool.
And what else is going on?
Well, what are you going to do for the draft? What are you guys going to say for the draft? I mean, what pick do you have? What number?
We got the second.
Okay. Who are you going to blow that on?
I mean, like
I already called Cam Ward, and I hope
that's
I'm
the
wrong.
problem. Now, see and that's the problem is that there isn't like a quarterback in this draft that you're like, that's the guy. There's just not, and there's not anything like that.
No.
So it's really just like, again, we had the first pick, and it was like the draft wasn't exactly overabundant at the time looking. I mean, I know some players emerged from that draft, but that always happens. But this draft looks the same. It's another draft that there's nobody standing out, and you're just like, gotta have that guy. And we have the second pick. So not only do we suck at picking, but we suck at picking the years when we get the picks. We just suck at everything. So it's just whatever. That's what I mean. Like
I would rather they trade with the Vikings for JJ McCarthy. Take a flyer on him. He's better than both the quarterbacks. He would fit in the system well. Product of the Vikings, obviously that's Stefanski's wheelhouse. Sign Cousins, make him your veteran bridge. Obviously he's the poster child for the Stefanski offense.
It's a good plan.
You can see if you squeeze any more juice out of him before he calls it a day, and go with it. I would be very happy with that plan. If you stay at 2, I want Travis Hunter or I want a lineman.
Not a bad plan.
See, I think you're right, Dan, on McCarthy, because I think he is worth taking a shot on rather than anybody that's in there. And I don't think the Vikings are going to let Darnold go away. I think they're going to give him a contract. But now that's what I would do, because it used to be the old Bill Parcells thing. If you had a high first rounder, trade it down for more picks.
Yeah.
He did that all the time because he didn't want to ride too much. He got volume. It was quantity. You knew they're going to do quality, and then he could coach them up. I see. That's where I do think you get into some interesting, maybe 3-team scenarios with there's somebody who really is convinced that there's a franchise quarterback in this thing. Let them overpay, overcompensate. Get the Vikings involved for McCarthy for the Browns. Take Miles packaged with the second overall pick, and then maybe you can get 2-3 first rounders for that package deal, right?
Maybe.
I mean, you can. You could get now all of a sudden you got something intriguing that you get somebody in there who does think one of these quarterbacks, Sanders, whoever is a franchise guy that they want to take a shot on. I mean, the Browns and the Jets aren't the only two teams that fuck up drafts.
Oh no. But they're the only two teams.
We fuck them up the most.
I mean, the Giants fuck up drafts. The Raiders
fuck up every single season. That's the.
But I mean, and that's I got to say that's something that's frustrating as a Jets fan. As a casual Jets fan now, is that a couple of years ago, one draft they took in Sauce Gardner. Okay, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall.
Yeah,
I mean Joe Douglas. That's a draft that teams dream about.
Hall of players.
You got the offensive and defensive rookies of the year, and then Breece Hall in there. And then now you're hoping a few years later, you're hoping to God two of them stay. I mean, even when they've had good draft picks, they figure out a way to fuck it up and
the
lose.
Browns are the same way. I mean, that's exactly what we do too. I mean, it is exactly what we do. And we go back and forth on the other thing too. Well, who's going to pick the draft? Oh, I don't trust him. So what are you going to do? You're going to trust who hired him to hire another person to get it right? Like it goes back always. It never changes. And there is one thing we haven't talked about this whole podcast, and there's one thing I never hear anyone talking about. And I'm going to bring this up. There's one thing that's never changed on the Browns through this whole thick and thin of bullshit, and his name is Paul DiPesto. And let me just say this about him. I remember that
Moneyball.
Everybody says, well, no one really knows what he does, but here's what I do know about that guy. I do remember that when they hired Freddie Kitchens, and I remember them saying that, well, Paul DiPesto wanted Stefanski. And they hired, and Dorsey took Kitchens, and that was all ultimately what got Dorsey shipped out of here. But it kind of gave you some insight right then and there that DiPesto did have power. It's just that they chose not to take his opinion that at that time. But the second time around, they went out and got Stefanski. And I think the whole debacle with Kitchens gave DiPesto more power. The Haslam more trust into that guy. And I still think that guy has a lot of power on this team. And I'll take
it one step further. If you go back to the previous hire, Hugh Jackson, DiPesto wanted Sean McDermott and recommended Sean McDermott, and they hired Hugh Jackson instead. And Sean McDermott is now coaching the Bills to a possible Super Bowl.
Right. And so what my point is that he's a mainstay, and there's a lot of things about him that I wonder if he ain't the problem. I mean, or just one of the big problems with this whole thing is that here's a guy that makes a lot more decisions. Here's the thing about him that I think is just weird is that nobody really knows what he does. So it's like, why don't you know what he does? Like, why do they want to keep that so hush hush? Almost like because when things go south, they don't want the finger pointed at that guy, even if it is his fault. It's almost like they don't want it known that when it is his fault, that it's his fault. Why? What? Like, I don't understand why his job is so secretive, but yet he seems to be an important part of the whole entire machine. I don't understand that. So I wonder, like we keep firing. Do we got to get rid of the right people? Is that what we're not getting rid of the people we need to get rid of here? Or I mean, the one thing about this whole thing is that seldom do these guys go off into the sunset and become great. So it's like when they leave the Browns, usually they suck. Like Baker right now, he's doing some things that usually don't happen. Usually when these coaches leave or whatever, when do they become great? Belichick's
right? The only one, really.
Yeah, but Belichick, again, though, is he the product of Brady or was he that great? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. But Brady went and won a Super Bowl with him.
Without him, yeah.
I don't know what you're gonna. I don't know what. And there's whatever. So, anyways,
that's a hard one.
Yeah, and Belichick also cheated too, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
So did Jim Harbaugh. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go Buckeyes.
I tell you what, I would trade if the Jets end up with Rex Ryan for a second Carney show or second. It'll be the big top Carney circus show again with that big mouth.
Yeah, he's not a Ryan fan.
He is the ultimate big hat, no cattle, all bravado and bluster, and then he sucks when he actually gets in there. He's full of shit. He's always eating a snack and doing his undisciplined big mouth. But a bunch
It
of idiots.
was just like his dad. Buddy was the same way. Except, he got lighting in a bottle in 1985, and his defense was awesome.
Yeah.
And he lived up that the rest of his life.
Yes. And Buddy Ryan, in fairness, he had been a good defensive coordinator prior to that. I mean, he was respected, but he was never like a head coach type guy. But he was, and then and Rex and his brother Rob. I mean, those two.
Oh, we had Rob.
We had Rob for a long
time. I know you did.
He was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Well, don't you remember when they were playing against each other and Rex came out with a wig?
Oh yeah.
He was always doing a clown show and he was always funny and doing shit and saying outrageous shit. And then Belichick would show up and the Patriots and they'd shove it down their throats and they'd leave Rex, wow, blah, 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 blah. Because he got the Mangini. We both had Mangini, right?
Oh, yeah.
He took the Mangini team that was built to 2 AFC championships, which Sanchez lost both. And that's what the Jet fans want to remember. They don't want to remember that he then ran the team into the ground and has a sub 500 record and then sucked eggs when he went to the Bills as a head coach and that nobody's wanted to hire him for 8 years.
Yep.
So I'll trade you guys. If they hire them, I am defecting completely to the Browns.
Good luck, boy. When you defect to the Browns,
or I'm just giving a ball.
Yeah, dude. You might want to just join some baseball. I'm telling you.
I got plenty of time in the shot put ring. I don't need to be investing in football if they're all going to be a complete clown show. But I do like to watch the other. There was really guys. I know we kid around stuff, and it's fun to do since we haven't done it in a few weeks. There are some great performances going on and some really great players. I mean, the other day, you guys had to. I mean, I know it was against your team, but that nose tackle from the Ravens.
Oh, with the interception at the end?
Intercepting at the end. I mean, what an athletic play from that big guy. Nose tackle dropping back into coverage and he steps up. And I mean, it was a beautiful play. I mean, what's his name? Derrick Henry and who's the quarterback again?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. I mean, I saw a meme on something that said, Lamar Jackson looked like he's out in the backyard playing against his nieces and nephews. I mean, he was just running all over the place. I mean, it's fun to watch. I know it's at your team's expense, but you got to admit it's fun to watch talented players.
Lamar Jackson looks like that every week. It doesn't matter who the guy's playing.
Yeah.
That guy, he doesn't.
It's fun to watch.
He defies the game. He's the one dude who really does. They talk about Mahomes. They talk about blah, blah, blah. Nobody defies the game like that dude. He looks like a little string bean out there compared to those other players, yet they don't even seem to get ever a square hit on that guy, ever. That dude moves so quickly, so fast in so many directions. He is like a video game watching that guy. The way he can move around and the speed at which he can do it. It's incredible to watch, actually, and then his passing, his arm. I mean, like the guy is
a lot better.
Oh my God, dude! Like I watched his throw, and he can sling sidearm, and he can do things like he's not the typical quarterback. He's just bizarre world, like he's like a video game. Yeah, you're right. He is an exciting. As much as I hate the Ravens.
And Josh Allen is in that. I mean, Josh Allen's having a phenomenal year again. And it's a shame that Joe Burrows, as a pure, just a guy who just, I saw him do this again, like he did at LSU with the ice in the veins. I mean, he's a serial killer on the field. He's so fucking good. It's a shame he's not in they're not in the playoffs. It really is. I mean, I think we'd all rather see, I think you guys would agree, I'd rather see a Bills, Ravens, let's say, AFC championship than have anything with the Chiefs anywhere near.
Yeah, I'm sick of the Chiefs.
We're all tired of the Chiefs.
Yeah,
but the NFL loves them.
Well, yeah, I mean they love Mahomes. I think you guys are right. I think when it comes to Goodell, he wants that goat, and Mahomes right now is the goat, and he's riding that goat all the way to where as far as he can squeeze out because there's nobody in the wings waiting right now. You know what I mean? Who's the next GOAT? Lamar is really neck and neck as far as age bracket and stuff with Mahomes. Who's behind them? Who's the next guy? I don't know. I mean, they drafted all these guys the last couple of years. We'll see someone's got to emerge, but none of them are going to look like they're going to pull off the stuff that Mahomes did. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anybody.
Well,
going to
Yeah, but
that
I
many
mean-
Super Bowls or anything like that right now. Do you?
No, they're not going to go to that many Super Bowls. If I had to pick a team today, I'd take Josh Burrows in a heartbeat over Patrick Mahomes. In a heartbeat.
You take Burrows right now?
Joe Burrow.
Oh, fuck yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
The only thing
I'd
about
take
Burrows is his
Josh Allen.
durability.
I'd take Jackson over him, too.
Just the durability of Mahomes. I mean, of Burrows is the problem. That's the only thing. He's been a little fragile.
His line sucks, and he's
I know
taking a
it's
beating.
true. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, yeah,
But
I mean,
I would get rid of that. I mean, their GM and their coach are suspect.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
oh,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Very
that's a guy who's just really, and Dan, you're right, because it's funny. You see some different images, and they're like, this guy completes this shit, and they'll show his linemen, and he'll have 3 guys from the other team inside of them closest to him. I mean, he is just, he's a throwback to guys. He's not quite Namath to Marino, but he gets rid of the ball really fast, almost as fast as those guys. When he makes his decision, it's gone. That receiver has been, what highlights to see him. He's spectacular. It's just, there are a lot of great performers, and Saquon Barkley, watching him, Derrick Henry, watching those guys run.
Yeah,
that's fun to watch.
Yeah.
That stuff for sure is for sure. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this thing up. You got something to say? Go ahead, say it. Fuck it.
I got a plug. Saturday night, Winchester, Lakewood, Ohio. Come out and see Rain and Blood, this Ultimate Slayer tribute from Chicago, with special guest, The Mob Rules, the Dio tribute from Northeast Ohio, featuring this motherfucker on the drums.
Guys, I already got my tickets. I went online and bought my tickets. I will be there Saturday. Tickets are $15. Big deal. And if you buy them online, it was a $5 charge, so it's $35 to get you 2 tickets. And I am excited to go there. First of all, Winchester. If no one's ever gone there, I've been there. It's many times. It's a fucking cool. The way that the way it's set up is it's like 90 degrees turned from the average. The way they usually are. They're usually like long and the stage is set there. And the thing is, this is wide. And so you kind of wrap around the stage. You're always right by the stage. And it's a big fucking stage at the Winchester. So, and the guy that runs sound, really good. It's a cool place, man. It's definitely a cool place to see a show. So everybody, we want to see your asses out there. Larry, you should make a little trip down over to Winchester. Not far from your house at all over there.
I will do my best. I am somewhat antisocial and I won't say a hermit, but I am kind of a recluse. But Dan, I would love to come see you shred and do your thing on the drums. So I'll do my best to get out there. I know where the Winchester is. I've never been there.
It's right on.
Is it a cool place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's on Madison, right near 117th. Yeah, I've passed it. I've never been inside though.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's a real cool place. Like I say, it's the way it's set up. It's like the opposite. It's like when you're at the stage, everybody's like to the sides of you, and then it's not that much in front of you. It's kind of like spread out left to right. It's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know how to explain.
I've never been in there. I've been trying to get my old band in there. It never happened. I got lucky. I hit them up at the right time and got on this bill. I'm really, really excited. I'm expecting to see a lot of people. I'm thinking this is going to open up a lot of doors for Mob. We've been getting a lot better. We added a keyboardist lately. Cool. So things are looking up. And we started this band literally 2 years ago to now. And it's
shit. It's been 2 years now. Wow, man. Wow, I can't believe that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be cool. Saturday. What time you say it starts? 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
Doors open at 7. We go on at 8.
Okay. What's up, Larry?
Since we're talking music, and everybody should go out. I'm going to try to get out and see. It's funny because I was doing 42 years ago tonight. Today's the 7th. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Dearborn to see the Misfits, the original Misfits, and the Big Boys tear up the Henry Ford, whatever it was, Henry Ford Civic Center or some damn thing, hardcore show. And we played on the 9th with them. That's 42 years ago. And I'm trying to think January's. This predates Don. This is from January of 88. there's Joe Gizmo and the Spud Monsters in the pre-Don Foose days.
Wow.
Oh shit.
Well, that was they played their first 2 shows, I think, for us, and that was January of 88.
Wow.
So what is that now? 36 years ago? 36? 36 years ago. Oh my God.
Wow.
That's horrifying.
That was,
horrifying.
and you know what, dude? That was the time in my life exactly when all my heavy metal, everything was like transforming. I was in a band with Ed Stevens, and I was and we were kids in high school, and I mean it was just everything. That's when my life really became what I was going to be. All right, let's get off this. We're going to be done. We did a nice one today. We got what, hour 15-minute podcast. Fucking
Not
good.
bad for the 3 of us.
No, dude, it was fun. And Larry started everything off, got the energy flowing beautifully.
Yelling at me.
It's because I can't hear. I wore what do you call for the first time. I still can't hear.
I'm gonna put super glue in them things so you're never hearing them, so you scream like that every time. I love it. All right, dude.
It's always a pleasure being with you guys.
Larry, Dan.
Love you guys.
We'll see everybody later. Go
Cavs.
Browns.
Go Buckeyes.
Yeah, go Buckeyes. Oh yeah, Buckeyes. When are they playing? 11th? Is that what it is?
Friday.
Oh, it's this Friday.
Yeah.
So, that's
right.
right.
No, wait.
No,
It's
you
Friday
are
or
right.
Saturday.
No, I think you're all right. I think it's Friday.
You got a prediction on that, you guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Buckeyes on this.
I'm gonna say Ohio State 37-16.
Yeah, something like that. And the championship. Oops, I think the championship game's a little more interesting. That I think is. Oh, pops back on. I think the championship game's a little more interesting. I think that either Penn State, I'll be honest with you. I think people are crazy about Ohio State playing Penn State and not being a little worried about that game. You beat a team so many times, and eventually they get you, man. And that's how I feel about Penn State. It's just like when's their time to catch us? And fucking if I know it, it'll be that damn day. So that's where I'm at with that shit, you know. I hate Notre Dame.
I want Buckeyes Notre Dame.
Me too.
Those are my 2 favorite. Those are my 2 favorite teams.
Yeah, my least favorite is Notre Dame.
I know you either love Notre Dame or you hate them, and I love them.
Yeah, but that's why I would like to play them the most. And you know what, dude? My third worst, the team I hate the most is Penn State. So really, I mean, like Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State. Those are my 3 ones that I'm like, fuck you. And so I would love to play. I would love to play Notre Dame and whoop that ass. I mean, that would be like, I listen, I am not just a homer. I am like the anti, like the Yankees, you know, like anything like that. And that's the easiest way to just bring it up. But anything that's where it's like, they're the national darlings, like when Dallas was on every Sunday, like, and Notre Dame's that fucking team, dude. They're like in college football, they're that fucking team. So for me, it's an easy hate. You know what I mean? For me, it's no problem because they're the Dallas Cowboys of college. I mean, are they not? Am I wrong there? I mean,
well, they were a few years ago. I mean, they were a few years ago. I remember, was it Paul Hornig who got in trouble talking about their recruiting, how they'll never be viable again as a serious team. And then they kind of came out of the dust and they've risen like a phoenix. I don't really care. I think that coach is doing a good job.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
I think he's a quality coach.
They got the right guys in place. That's what happens.
Yeah.
College
I'm a different, but they did come back from 10 years ago. I don't think anybody thought Notre Dame was going to do anything. I think they thought that was kind of they would never be another Power 5, Power 10 school ever again.
You're right.
They're going to be like Stanford. You know, that's the way it was trending.
Yes. Yeah. They were there. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ara Parsegian for the next 100 years. Like those were and against USC or whatever. Yeah, all those years. So I'm kind of surprised that they've done such a turnaround, and they did it pre-portal.
Yeah, and now the portal has helped them too. And
NIL.
You got a lot of donors at Notre Dame.
Yep.
Well, I mean, wasn't that Indiana's? I know we just did a quick thing, but that was Indiana this year, right? Then the guy come from James Madison and brought half his team.
Took his whole team.
Yeah, my daughter's school where she competes for Marshall, Charles, whatever his name is, won Sun Belt, took off for Southern Louisiana, took 11, 12 players, 20, 30 players with him, and they bowed out of their bowl game because of it. So, I mean, it's just insane. You know, I think Indiana's going to get a come up, and you can play that trick for 1 year, but then you kind of hit it in that 1 year. You've moved everybody. Like Duke did last year. Duke did it last year. They suddenly were beating people because they had 11 to 12 portal transfers and were beating teams they never would have beaten before.
Same with Vanderbilt. You know, they're
Yep.
All right, guys.
100%.
I'm going to put an end to this right now. I'm going to stop you two from talking.
Okay.
I'm tired as hell. I actually did an interview. Let me do a plug real quick. I know I'm just telling you to hang out, but I interviewed Ed Miller today for Sun the Sky. Juan Ricardo, Sun the Sky, because I'm doing that Clee CD thing. You and me, you and I are going to get together on that too. I did one today. I put those 4 out already. They're pretty cool. I mean, I liked how they turned out so far. I'm going to be doing classic ones, and I'm going to be doing, so that's where the Manimals will come in. I already talked to Don. I'll be doing one with the Spud Monsters, and of course I'll do Purgatories, and I'll do, I'm going to do all those, but I'm doing mostly the new ones, upcoming ones, and I'm not doing Kiss Destroyer. But I mean, if you can get me in touch with Gene, I will fucking do it. I will change it up.
I don't know. But you know what would be funny though? You know, it could be funny. And I did listen to some of your one. I think the first one you did was Bessemer Saints. Yeah, I listened to some of that. It's really cool, BigBri. I think maybe Dan, maybe you back me up on this here. Wouldn't it be fun if we got a group of us talking about our favorite records and what did you like? We'll pull out one like that and say, did you like it or did you hate it? What did you like about it? What'd you think about it? Did you even never heard of it? What about this one? Was it goofy or did you like it? And stuff like, or you pull out some, I know, Black Sabbath, and we talk about, do we like Ozzy or Dio more? I don't know.
Well, here's 5 hours talking about that.
Well, here's what.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, I'm really glad since you brought it up. Okay, I'm going to end this and then hang tight, guys. We'll talk after this. Oh wait, we got two people watching.
Hey, all right.
Who the fuck now you guys are going to watch.
We love you two people.
But what you're talking about is what I want to do for that other podcast, but not just that, but like have segments on the podcast like that. So like at some point we're like, all right, we're going to do that and do that for a little while and have different things and have guests and that type of thing. But
we can talk about this one.
We will have all
and have do a round table.
I mean, we like the Metal Show did. If you ever watched the Metal Show, they did stuff like that. All right, guys, that's it for us, everybody. We will see you guys next time around. We'll be in touch with you guys. Let you guys know when we're going to do our new podcast. Till then, peace.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.